Let's talk about is first class or business class actually worth it, especially when redeeming your points. So first off, it is yes, it it is worth it, especially for international flights. But there's a lot of questions, and there's definitely a framework to kind of understand on whether it is worth it for you and your situation. When I first started this 5 years ago, I wish I would have known this information, which is why I would like to show you guys kind of the framework and the questions that go through my head on when I'm redeeming points. And hopefully it helps you not only conserve your points, uh, but be able to earn your points and travel even more by doing so and, asking yourself these questions and possibly using the framework as a guide when redeeming points. So when it comes down to it, initially, I will say right off the bat, it is up to your discretion. Like if you're excited about it, the first few flights that I booked, I was booking through the travel portal. If you have seen my videos, we talk about how the travel portal is not necessarily a viable, like it can be a good option for certain redemptions, but you're only getting 1.25 or 1.5 cents per point with Chase or just 1 to 1 value with American Express. But I can get 3, 4, 5 cents per point of value. Um, Other ways, but they're right there. It takes a little some skill and nuance to be able to do that. But I was excited when I made these redemptions. I was happy I didn't have to pay cash, and that's what matters initially with your first redemptions. If you're excited about it, if you're happy about it, if you feel like you got a deal, you got a steal, hey, that's all that really matters. Like you feel good about it. So sometimes people will join some of these Facebook groups, and people will go crazy on them. Like, I booked this. Like, is this a good option? We took this trip on these points, and people will harp on them about like this was a terrible redemption. You shouldn't have done this. You should have, did this instead or thought about this. So either way, it comes down to your discretion. So let's mention that initially. And that's what these questions and this framework is supposed to do, is allow you to develop your own intuition and ideas on what is a good redemption for you, but hopefully this guides you in the right direction. So the first thing to think about is domestic US flights are completely different than international flights. So you might hear first class and you think it's kind of the same. Domestic US first class versus international first class, completely different scenarios. Domestic US is you have first class, then you have, premium economy or like premium comfort, and then you have your basic economy. Domestic first class is you get a little extra room, drinks, you get one meal and some snacks, some average food. You only have one person sitting next to you. But also think about it, these flights are typically, 2 to 4 hours. They're not very long, but you get more comfort for sure. You don't have to, you can get off the plane faster, things of that sort. So that is domestic US. International first class, international business class is going to allow you to have a lie flat seat. So flights that are typically over 6 hours to 15, 18 hours, you can literally sleep, take a nap, be comfortable. You get multiple course meals. You get access to, higher luxury types of drinks or cocktails. You can also get access to lounges. The service is much different. So it is completely different in terms of the type of experience that you are provided on an international flight versus a domestic flight. So when you're looking at points redemptions, make sure you're understanding, this is the important part, what type of airline you are flying. Airbuses and airlines are completely different. So when you see a good redemption, make sure you're looking up that type of flight, make sure you're understanding the Airbus or the airplane that is flying that type of route so that you can understand the seating arrangements that are available to that or the types of seats that you're going to be sitting in. So that is important to look up and understand. Some transcontinental flights, like I actually flew from Miami to LAX on American Airlines flagship, their 777-300ER. That would be an Airbus number that you would look up and understand the types of seating. I knew that I was going to be on a lie flat seat. So some of those long transcontinental flights will actually have lie flat seats, but those are basically New York City to LA or Miami to LA, Miami to San Francisco. The majority of every other flight in the domestic US is going to be, your typical first class that you see when we're walking back to economy. So be aware of that. Second piece, which is really important, is understanding the value that you're getting out of those points. So when I talk about value, think of it like the stock market. Think of it like a slot machine. You put $1 in, you get $2 out. You put $1 in, you get $5 out. So when I talk about something that you hear about cents per point or cost per point, that's what we're talking about. If I'm getting 2 cents per point or 5 cents per point, that is what I mean. So when I say that, my framework is I decide not to redeem my points. Whether I'm going to redeem them or not redeem them is if I am getting at least at a minimum 2 to 3 cents per point. For example, in terms of the points world, if the cash cost is $1,000 for that flight and it is 100,000 points to redeem with points, that is 1 cent per point. That is a 1-to-1 value. So if it's 50,000 points, that is a 2 cent per point value. If it's 25,000 points, that is 4 cents per point value. And that can change depending on, the points and the cash cost of the flight. So just beware of that in terms of value. My framework is 2 to 3 cents per point. I think that's a good framework to understand and to utilize, because if the flight is $300 and it's costing me 30,000 points, I would just rather pay the $300 for that domestic flight to stay in economy than to, waste 30,000 points, and that could go towards a $5,000 international flight. So think about it that way. Understand the Airbus, understand the route, understand the type of comfort you're getting in that redemption, then use your points that way. Now, the next thing that's really important to understand is just the questions that you need to ask yourself about your particular situation, because anything about credit, anything about travel, anything about points is everyone has a different situation. So the questions I would ask myself are, how many points do I currently have? If you have 500,000 points versus someone that has 100,000 points, 50,000 points redeeming is going to matter more to someone with 100,000 than someone with a lot of points already. How much are you earning per year? How many cards do you plan on applying to in the next year? Because sign-up bonuses, well, you'll get additional points with certain platforms as well. How much do you spend per month? If you're someone that spends, $10,000 a month, or you're a business owner who spends a lot more money, you're earning more points. So for you, the comfort on a domestic flight might be worth it. Also, even with the domestic US first class, if you've never flown first class and you can find a good deal, a little less than 2 cents per point, and you just want to see what it's like, go ahead, do it. Like I said, it's up to your discretion, but it all depends on the questions that you have in your particular situation, which is how many points do you have? How many cards do you have? How many cards do you plan on applying to? How much points are you actually earning per year? And you can also, get those points back by referring, the cards that you enjoy having and talking about your knowledge and your experience with points and miles and credit cards to your friends. So if you can refer that card 2-3 times, 50,000 points you can get right back. So just recognize those questions that we should all be asking ourselves and understanding whether it's worth it. The reason I want to mention this is just because this is something, like I said, I wish I would have known earlier. Even though I felt like I was getting deals, I could have saved, 60,000, 100,000 points earlier on, even though there's a lot of nuance and skill in understanding this, which we teach in my school community. I love helping you guys and learning from you guys, but also being able to collaborate and teach you and educate you on this and how you can travel even more. So hopefully that framework gives you some guidance on how to use your points, how to look for things, the questions you should ask yourselves, and how you should go about redeeming it. In the end, first class or business class, is it worth it? To me, international, absolutely. Sometimes when it comes to domestic flights, it depends on the redemption, and it depends. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I can book economy and this flight isn't too booked out. I can get upgraded. So if you have certain types of status, you can utilize that type of status to then get upgraded. And then you might have booked an economy flight for 10,000 points and now you're on a $700 flight. So you got more value out of that. And that's happened to me a few times, which is awesome. But either way, that's everyone's particular situation in terms of their status, their spending, their cards, their points, and hopefully that guides you in the right direction. So as always, hit the like and subscribe button. If you've gotten a really cool redemption, or if there's a certain redemption or place that you want to go, let me know in the comments. I'd love to help you book that or find that even in the school community as well. And we can connect and collaborate there. But as always, I enjoy giving you guys this information I'll see you guys in the next video, or I'll see you in the school community, and we'll talk soon.